welcome. For today's session, we are going to talk about the forces of addiction. Earlier, we discussed that addiction is a disease. Actually, it's a brain disease. So, when you read the psychology book, the DSM, it's called the Diagnostic Statistical Manual 5, you'll find that it is categorized among mental health disorders. But now, the forces that we are going to discuss today, they are the ones that distinct it from other neurological disorders. So, we will be, in this session, we will be discussing the forces, what makes the aspect of addiction different from other neurological disorders. So, first, I'll outline all the forces first before we now delve deeply inside them. So, first is compulsion, is the first C, then craving, then consequence, then control. So, I'll begin with compulsion. Compulsion is now when you have that intense, overwhelming urge to fuel your addiction. Yeah. So we find that when a person first engages in his or her drug of use, first it may begin as an impulsive behavior. So there is a difference between impulsive behavior and compulsive behavior. Impulsive behavior is a behavior which emanates when a person relies on his gut feeling. So when the gut feeling tells you that, today I don't feel like, so you don't indulge in certain behavior. If the gut feeling tells you that, today I feel like doing something, you just end up doing the thing. But now, a compulsive behavior is that behavior which is that intense and overwhelming drive, which enables a person to behave the way you behave. You cannot resist it. In fact, it's a irresistible urge to engage in a certain behavior. So, at first, this aspect of addiction, maybe in your experimentation use, it may begin as an impulsive behavior. Now, when it goes overboard now, the aspect of compulsion comes in. And that's why we say that the first C is compulsion. Yeah, we have that irresistible urge, an absolute irresistible urge towards the drug of your choice. Now you cannot resist yourself. You cannot restrain yourself anymore. You have that irresistible urge. The second C is craving. Now this is where your drug craving mimics the physical need such as thirst or hunger. In what sense? This is where you find that a person now who is so dependent on that drug up to a point that he cannot function without. He takes that drug as if it is vital for his survival. So a person cannot do away. He takes a drug of his or her own choice as food, or as it mimics that physical need of thirst or hunger. So you find the person that and this craving often manifests itself in form of restlessness, a loss of appetite, and also anxiety. So, and also while at it also manifests itself in terms of insomnia. So a person become restless, not unless he or she uses the drug of his or her own choice. Not until he uses, he or she becomes so restless, until he or she gets that access to the drug of his or her own choice. On the aspect of insomnia, you find that if this person has been having that consistency of using that drug, you find that once he misses using that drug, he may experience insomnia. And what is insomnia? Insomnia is lack of sleep. A person may be sleepless the whole night, not until he indulge himself in that drug of his own choice. his or her own choice. Also, loss of appetite. You find that when a person uses a drug, for a period of time until he develops that craving, he might even lose appetite. Not until he or she uses that drug, is when he will regain his appetite. So it manifests itself. That craving often manifests itself in such a manner. So that is the second C. That is the craving part. So I'll just emphasize that it reaches a point that a person takes that drug as if it is vital for his or her own survival. Without it, he cannot survive. And I've said it mimics the physical need of thirst or hunger. Yeah. So when you feel thirst, normally you seek maybe a water to drink. Yeah. When you feel hunger, you know that it's time to eat. Now, this person, when he's in this addiction, when he's experiencing this craving, he finds that he just needs that thing, only need that thing to push him, for survival. The other C is consequences. Here we find that despite this person knowing that there are some negative consequences associated with his or her drug of choice, we find that the person now continues to maybe indulge himself in taking that drug, knowing, having have that awareness that it has a negative effects. The person continues, to engage in that act of maybe taking, let's say in this context, let's use a common substance like alcohol. Despite a person knowing that it has got very, very negative consequences, a person continues, to use. Now, giving it, he or she gives a blind eye to those consequences, and he just continues because he cannot be able to stop. Because he has already, as I've said, in that compulsion stage, he has that overwhelming, that intense and overwhelming urge to use that drug. So he cannot be able to restrain himself. So, and we find there is now where that we find that when you indulge in any drug of your choice, you find that there are many negative consequences, ranging from physical. It will affect you physically, mentally, emotionally, psychologically, even economically, in that line, even profession-wise. And I'll just take this time to explain how. A person may ask how. Despite a person knowing that maybe indulging in alcohol, will make him waste maybe his or her resources, he'll continue to indulge in that, taking maybe that alcohol to an extent that he find himself now being in debts. And when you are in debts, automatically you are affected economically. Number two, when you engage maybe in this, maybe when you reach in this addiction phase and you're experiencing this, now see this part of the consequences. Physical, how are we affected physically? Maybe you are indulging in this drug of your own choice for a period of time to a point that you lose appetite. When you lose appetite, you don't eat. When you don't eat, you become malnourished. And when you become malnourished, automatically you are affected physically. Number three, we go to mentally. How is a person affected mentally? Let's say, for example, I'll just use the common substance, the alcohol. Let's say, for example, you've indulged in this alcohol, and maybe you had a certain amount of money, you had planned to do other things, but now, since you have that compulsion to take that drug, you end up using all your resources to take that drug. When you wake up the next day, because the previous day you intoxicated yourself, when you wake up the next day, you'll be in a state of panic mode. You'll be in a state of confusion, of where maybe you had only that amount of money, and you had programmed yourself to do 1 or 2 or 3 tasks. You'll find that when you wake up the following morning, stress might kick in, because you'll find yourself, you have no money left by yourself. you had other plans you had to accomplish. Maybe there are also very important plans you had to accomplish, but now you've depleted your money in one setting. Yeah? So you don't have any single penny left for you to spend on these other tasks. And that's where now stress kicks in. And when stress kicks in, automatically your mental health is affected. Number next, I like to talk about how this the consequences, these negative consequences, how are you affected, maybe, let's say, emotionally. Emotionally, in what sense? Maybe you are in that setting. You are in that setting. Maybe you overindulge in the drug of your own choice. Maybe afterwards, maybe after you are out of there, and you've slept the following day, you find that there might be maybe you are a family man. Let me put it in that context. You are a family man. The next day you are waking up. Maybe you didn't fulfill one or two things since you overindulge yourself in the drug use. So we'll find that there might be issues of insults, and this is common even in many home settings. There may be conflict, there may be insults, and that's how you can be affected emotionally, because maybe your partner may utter some words which are not maybe good. So, and in that line, you might end up being affected emotionally because of such insult. Also, what I forget to mention is your spiritual aspect. How is it affected also? You find that when you are a person, maybe you are a person who used to maybe have that close conscious contact with God, or the God of your own understanding. You find that when you begin indulging in the drug of your own choice, you will begin now having that gap. Maybe you don't go to church anymore. Maybe you don't practice praying anymore. Maybe you don't practice matters meditation anymore. So you have that gap. You end up having that gap, and that also affects your spirituality. So you find that even them, despite them knowing very well that they might likely to face such consequences, they continue to indulge in such maybe drinking habits, or indulging in substance abuse habits. So even though they know, they are quite aware of the repercussions that might occur. So the last thing, the last C that I want to talk about is control. You find that now when addiction has gone overboard, now when the aspect of addiction now kicks in, because in the first C of the compulsion, we say that you have that irresistible, absolute, and overwhelming urge to indulge in the drug of your choice. Now we find that when now it reaches a point where you totally lose control, and that's where the last C of control comes in. You totally lose control on when and how you can restrain yourself from indulging in such habit. And I can remember I once talked about when we were talking on the stages of addiction. I once talked about there is a stage of the first stage. Maybe the first stage is experimentation. In experimentation, people were able to control themselves because it was just the first stage. Were able to restrain themselves. Maybe they say that today I'm not indulging myself in maybe drinking. But now it reaches a point when it is full blown now. When it reaches the last stage of dependency. Now we find that a person cannot control himself anymore because he is dependent. Now that's where the last C of control comes in. A person completely loses control on how and when maybe he should restrain himself from indulging in such activity. Now it goes overboard, and that's why we say that now when it reaches at that point when you lose control of how and when maybe you should take, or of how and when you should restrain yourself from engaging yourself maybe in drinking habits or in substance abuse habit. Now that's where a person, we say that a person has hit the rock bottom. Yeah. And if you are a person who is wise enough, you should start retracing your steps and you should go back to the drawing board and know, because it has now grow, yeah, to a point of full blown stage. So this last C of control is when a person now totally can't control himself whatsoever. Yeah, he continues to indulge in drug inside in that act, continue in that act of abusing drug over and over again, because he doesn't have self-control. And in normal circumstances, you know that if you don't have self-control, you end up doing things, everything, yeah, without putting into consideration that maybe you might harm somebody, or maybe even you might harm yourself. Because if you don't have self-control, and this is where you hear that there are cases of OD, yeah, overdose. Yeah? A person indulge in that drug until he goes overboard now, and that overboard is now what we are calling overdose. A person overdosed, and that in most cases lead to deaths, yeah, or being hospitalized. Yeah, you see, so you become just affected totally. Yeah? Because when you lose control, even when a car, in a normal circumstances, even when a driver loses control on the road, the next thing is accident. An accident is being caused. So likewise, when you lose control on your drug use, it most definitely there are obviously negative consequences associated with that loss of control. Because when you lose control, yeah, you'll end up even engaging poison, in the name of in the name of taking alcohol. You don't even care anymore. Anything that comes your way, because you don't have that control, you cannot be able to restrain yourself, yeah, from maybe that drug. So you end up using anything. You end up not knowing when to use. Even it might be you are on duty. Yeah? You happen to go to your workplace while you are drunk, because you don't know when. Yeah? Maybe you are a person who used to restrain yourself maybe during the weekends, but you find yourself now, when this aspect of loss of control kicks in, you find yourself even on work days, you are drinking. You report to your workplace while you are drunk, or while you have ingested the drug of your own choice. Yeah? And that in turn affects your even productivity at work. So that last C of loss of control, now it's where now it's a big problem. Yeah, because when you totally lose, you lose control of yourself totally. So, and that's where now, when a person reaches that level, or if you have a person, or if you yourself, if you are viewing this video and you have that problem, you should start first. If you are wise enough, as I've always said, you should first seek help. Yeah? Because when you lose control, you will indulge in excessive drug use, because you cannot be able to restrain yourself. Yeah, and there that automatically is a problem. That automatically is a problem. So what do I have to say? What I have to say is that when you reach that point, or if you have maybe characters that are violated in those forces, yeah, it is high time that you should seek help. Always seek help, because when you hit rock bottom and you continue, you might end up experiencing very, very, very negative repercussions. So if you manifest any forces, and you're watching maybe this informative clip, you should first seek help, because it is through seeking help that you can find the solution to your, maybe be it drinking problem, be it that addiction. Yeah, but if you don't seek help, yeah, you'll just perish, because there is a saying that goes, change or perish. So if you don't change, there is no other option. You perish. So you either change or perish. So if you yourself, or there is a person or your loved one who has such a characters that are violated, yeah, just seek help. And there are many avenues of seeking help. Yeah? And as I've stated in these videos, if you have the problem of addiction, first just rush to the nearest rehabilitation center, because normally if a person is sick, yeah, the first place to go is a normal hospital. Maybe a person is ailing, is ailing. Equally, if a person has this problem of addiction, the first place he or she should run to is the rehabilitation center, because it is in that setting that a person can be helped in matters addiction. A normal hospital cannot treat an addicted an addict. So as I conclude, I'll just like to urge us that even if you are in this addiction, just know that all is not lost. There is hope. All is not lost. Yeah? All is not lost. There is hope. Yeah? There can be a turnaround. Yeah? But how can this turnaround happen? When you seek an intervention. When you seek an intervention. So all is not lost. If you are battling this addiction disease, just know all is not lost. This is a treatable and manageable illness. Yeah, once you seek help. And I'd like just to again thank Mr. Mutugi here for giving me this opportunity to continue to educate the masses about this problem of addiction and how a person might find help or might seek help. Thank you.